Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Kate and Henry out at Hudson Crossing Park. Now, we've been talking a lot about the Hudson River lately, and we have to talk about something that the Hudson needs our help with, and that's pollution.
Pollution is when something that can hurt the environment is brought into a place it's definitely not supposed to be. Pollution can be in the air, on the land, and even on the water. Unfortunately, the Hudson River has had a lot of problems with pollution over the years, and there have been a lot of people who have worked really, really hard to try to clean up that pollution. Now, the good news is the Hudson River is a lot healthier than it used to be, which means that the animals are happier, the humans who live on it are happier, and it's better for our earth.
I thought it would be fun to do a little activity that you guys can do at home to learn about how hard it really is to get rid of pollution once it's in the water. Now, Henry desperately wants to go for a swim, and I told him he can't because we've got to use this water for something else, but maybe later, okay, Henry? Okay. So the first step is you get a tub or a jar. It doesn't have to be this big, but fill it with nice, clean water. I think it's a good idea to wait and do it on a nice warm day like this because this nice cool water feels really nice about right now.
Now, we all know that the water's home to lots of our animal friends, so our experiment wouldn't be complete without adding some of our animals. We've got a duck, a whale, okay, the whale probably doesn't live in the Hudson River, a fish, and of course we all know that we love to go boating, and all right, we'll even add Mr. Pirate in here for good measure. Don't tell Henry that Mr. Pirate gets to go for a swim. Now, as much as I'd like to leave that water nice and clean, we are learning about pollution. So Henry and I have gathered some things that we're going to add to the water that sometimes get added to our streams and rivers. We've got some string, some recyclable plastic, some paper, and we'll get to that junk later. As we add things to our water, we immediately begin to see how dirty the water really gets, just how quickly. All of a sudden, Henry's decided that maybe he doesn't want to go for a swim right now.
But we haven't even begun to get really messy. Now, we've also got from our recycling cabinet some paper, and this could be anything from a coffee cup to a piece of paper that flew out of somebody's car. And then we've got plastic bags. And this is the stuff that gets really bad because plastic never goes away. It gets broken down into smaller and smaller pieces, but it never really disappears. And then we've got a seltzer can. Now, once you think about boats trying to go through this and animals trying to swim through it, it really starts to get real messy. And then we've got our poor friend the frog here who just wants to go for a nice swim. And let's see how he does. Not great. And then there's one of the worst things of all, an oil spill. Oil sits on top of the water and it coats everything it touches. So sometimes when there's a boat that leaks or maybe a factory or something that spills things into the water, this is what happens.
Our poor little friend the frog can barely move through all of the pollution that's now in his water. And if you look closely, our boats and our animals are all coated in oil and tangled up in plastic.
Now, you're probably saying, Miss Kate, my mom and dad have made me clean up my room as many times, so I know that we can clean this up. Well, we're going to give it a shot. So I've got this scoop, and I'm going to try to scoop out some of this stuff and put it away and clean up our river. But I think you'll see it's not going to be as easy as you'd think. Some of the things have floated to the bottom. Some of the things are really hard to grab. And that pesky oil has covered everything in this water, including our boats and our animals. It's not great.
Cleaning up all this pollution takes an awful long time. Ugh, we even had to use a paper towel to try to sop up some of that oil. Let's see how we did.
So after all that cleaning, this is our new clean water. You can see it's got oil, it's still got some paper floating in there, some of that grass, and even when I touch it, my hands come away covered with oil. So if this is what our water's like after we clean it, that's not great. So what if we do the next thing, which is filter our water? Now I've got a coffee filter here, and I'm going to take this dirty water that I just pulled out, and I'm going to pour it very, very carefully in through the coffee filter.
Places called water filtration plants do just this, except you'll soon see why they have to do it a bunch of times before the water's ready to go back to the river.
Now it's caught some of the oil and a bunch of the grass, but look, it's still dirty. It's cleaner than it was, but it's not as clean as when we started. So you guys can see just how hard it is to keep water clean once it's been polluted.
Henry and I hope that you try this experiment at home. And we hope that you'll join us in trying to protect our river from pollution so that we can all enjoy it for many, many years to come. See you next week, boys and girls.